In this video, we will create two new view controllers, sign in view and protected page, and we'll create two buttons, one sign in button and another sign out button, which will work with Parse library and will let user log in with their Facebook account and log out of your Swift application that uses Parse. So I will go to our main storyboard, and there I will have one view controller which was created by default by Xcode. So I will open right side panel, and let me actually get a little more space here. First, let's integrate this view controller into navigation controller, and I will select editor, embed in navigation controller. And I will resize this navigation controller into 4-inch just to get more space here on my screen. Let me zoom out and put them next to each other. Okay, so this will be our sign in view. I will select navigation item and give it a title, sign in. Okay, and I need a sign in button, so I will look for a button and we'll drag and drop it here. So that will be our sign in button. Sign in. Right, okay, and one more view controller, which will be our protected page. So I will look for a view controller, drag it and drop to my project. And just like with my first view controller, I will select it, go to editor, embed navigation controller, and then I will resize it to 4-inch to get some more space. Otherwise the views are too large. And I'll select it, select the navigation item, and I will call it protected page. Oops. Protected page. And I will also create one button quickly here, and this button will be our log out button or sign out. Okay, so the flow is this: user will land on our sign in view controller on sign in, which is initial view controller because it has this arrow here, and they will tap on sign in button, which will be a Facebook sign in. It will trigger Facebook sign in, and once user successfully signs in with their Facebook account, we will open protected page view controller, and there, I mean, there will be your application. In your case, protected page might be your tab bar controller, or it could be a view controller, which is your navigation drawer, for example. Okay, so there are a couple of more things that we want to do while here. For the view controller, for the sign-in view controller, let's select the view controller here and then switch to Identity Inspector. Select view controller and provide identity storyboard ID, just the same name. We will use it later on in our code. We'll come back here as well and do the same thing for a protected page. And actually for the protected page, before we can do it, we need to create a new custom class. So open up my left side panel, select my project folder, and then choose new file, iOS source, code touch class, next, and I'll give this custom class a name, protected page view controller. It should be subclass of UI view controller, language Swift. Next, and click on create. Okay, so now I need to go back to my main page view controller. I will hide the left side panel, select protected page view controller, and under Identity Inspector custom class here, I want to type protected page view controller. And I will also copy this a name of my custom class, and I'll paste it for storyboard ID, identity storyboard ID here, and hit enter. Okay, almost done. So let's go ahead, let's select Facebook, let's select sign in view controller first and implement a sign in button. So for that, I will open my sign in view controller in Assistant Editor, hiding right side panel, arrange things a little bit, and drag it here. Okay, so the first thing we of course need to import parse. Let me import, oh god, import parse. Okay, and then select the button, hold control button on my keyboard, drag and drop it to my code, and for the connection select action, and for the action name we will give sign in button dot connect. Okay, now we have an action function which will be triggered when user taps on sign in button, and here we will use parse custom class which is parse object which is called pf Facebook with deals, and there we want to find login in background with publish permission. No, we want to look for read permission with login in background with read permissions and completion handler. Yeah, this is the one, the last one. Select it, and before we can provide permissions is an array of permissions, and that we can look up on Facebook what permissions, but I can think of two right away, which is a public profile, and another permission that we want to request is email. When user signs in for the first time, and Facebook will prompt them for a permission. Would you give this permission, like to see to see your public profile and email address? And once user will provide their once user tap on OK and logs in into our application, completion handler will be triggered, and we will be provided with two other objects, which is pf user, so I'll call it user, and ns error, and I'll just call it error, and here will be our code. Okay, so everything is good so far. Now let's with the first thing, if there is an error, we want to display this error to user, and we do not want to continue. So we will check if error is not equals to nil, then we can display an alert message, and that alert message will be a localized description that we have from the error message. And let me I actually have a little piece of code ready here for the alert controller, so I don't have to type it here. So what I basically do, I create a new UI alert controller with the message, which is our error object, and it is a localized description from the error object, and that is a default alert controller. And then it will have only one button, OK, and when user taps on this OK button, our alert will be simply dismiss, and nothing will happen on its completion. And we'll present this alert controller to a user. And very important, let's return, because if there was an error like request timeout or something happened, we don't want to continue further. Okay, but if everything was okay, then we can actually print out print out user object into our console to see how it looks, and then from here we can get access token and user ID and other user details. So let's print out some other details like current user token, for example, which we might want to use with Graph API if we need to. So, and that will be To get user token, we will need to use again we can use this time we can use Facebook library, and it's Facebook SDK access token. And from the access token, we can get current access token. And from current access token, we can get a token string. And that will print out the access token. Another value, let's, for example, we can print is current user ID, and that will be Facebook ID of the user who currently is logged in. So I will also use Facebook SDK access token, current access token, and then user ID. And this is, again, this is just for informational purposes. We don't need to print it, just for us to see if everything is working. And okay, once user successfully logs in, what we need to do, we need to take user to a protected page. So before taking user to a protected page, I will check, for example, if current if access token is not nil. And if is not nil, then I know that user is successfully logged in, and I can safely take them to a protected page. And to go to a protected page, we first need to instantiate it from our storyboard, and we need to use let's create a new variable. I'll call it let protected page equals self. I'll reference storyboard instantiate view controller with identifier, and identifier is here. If we scroll back to our protected page, select view controller, open up right side panel, and this is our identity storyboard ID. So this is the identifier we want to use. Select the whole value, and let's go back to our sign in view controller, select sign in here, and paste it here as, let's hide it, as protected view controller. Okay, so now we have an instance of our protected view controller. The next step is for us to wrap it into a navigation controller. So I'll create a new variable and call it protected page navigation controller, something like this, equals UI navigation controller with, oops, I'm sorry, with root view controller, and it's going to be our protected page. Okay, and our next step is for us to actually redirect user to a new page, but we do not want to present protected page on top of sign in, or we do not want to push to a protected page. What I will actually do, I will replace current Windows root view controller with the protected page, and for that I will need to access app delegate equals UI application shared application delegate, okay, as app delegate exclamation mark. Okay, and now when I have app delegate, I can access window object, and from window object I have a reference to a root view controller, and I will replace it with the protected page. So this should take user to a protected page. Let's quickly build it and see if we have any errors. I think it's building so far successfully. Done. And let's run this example to see if it's actually working and we get current user token printed out, and if we are taken to a protected page successfully. Okay, application's up and running. I tap on sign in button. I'm taken to Facebook. It looks like I have already authorized for this name. Maybe when I was testing creating of Facebook app, but it's okay. Click on OK. And we are taken to a sign out page. And we have a current user token, access token printed, and a current user ID printed out. So everything is working well. And here's our User details, everything is also printed out from Facebook. So that's our user object. And we have everything. Yes, we have first name, last name, we have email address, we have everything printed out. And I'm very sorry, this details, actually this PF user object is actually parse user object. So these details do not come from Facebook. These details come from our parse user object. So if I go to my application, parse application here, I'll scroll all the way up, parse.com. Let me go to parse.com. Here we go to my apps, go to my app core, and we have user object, which is a special type user object. I click on user, and these are some users that I have. So now it created a new user, which is this Facebook, and it printed out the data. So let me actually delete this user from mobile app, I mean from Parse app. Now I don't have user with this email address, and I'll delete some of other users. Okay, and let me run this example again. So I will stop application and run it again and sign in. Okay. Yes, I'm taking to a protected page, and now I have a little different output. So for the PF user, I have only a username here, but I have what's important. I have user token and current user ID. So our Facebook login does work, and we are good to continue to work with the sign out page. And for that, I will close this view, close this. I will select protected page, open protected page view controller, and select sign. First, let's import parse. Import parse. Create an action for this sign out button. I will select the button, hold control button on my keyboard, drag and drop here. I'll create select action, and this action will be sign out button tapped. Now when user taps on a sign out button tapped function will be called, and here we will use parse object pf user, and we will call function log out in background with block. Okay, and here we will click OK, and when this completion handler triggers, we will be provided with an error object. So I will give it a name error, and we can simply check. If there is no error, then we can take a user out, or I mean, if there is an error, we can display this error using alert UI alert controller, or we can simply take user out to sign in page. And I will go to sign in page, copy this code that I have here for taking me to a protected page, just to make sure to make this video shorter, and paste it here. But this time it's going to be a login page, and it's going to be a view controller, and it's going to be view controller. And if you wonder why it's view controller, it's because the storyboard ID is view controller. So if I select sign in page, open up right side panel, here we have provided identity storyboard ID view controller. So this is what I'm doing. I'm instantiating sign in view controller from the storyboard, and it has ID view controller. And now it's going to be a login page navigation controller instead of protected page, and I'm going to take user to a login page navigation controller. Okay, so this is it actually for the sign out button tapped. Let's quickly run this video and see if it's working. Okay, sign in page, tap on sign in button, and we're taken to Facebook. Okay, and we're taken to sign out. Now if I tap on sign out, I'm taken back to sign in, and I'm pretty sure I'm signed in. So if I tap on sign in again, yes, I'm taken to Facebook page, tap on OK, and I'm on the protected page. Tap on sign out, and I've signed out, and I'm back to sign in page. There's one thing though. I've noticed that a protected page doesn't have navigation controller. Let me go back to sign in page and make sure that yes, the reason I do not see navigation controller is because I'm taking user to a protected page rather than to protected page navigation controller here. So let's run this example again and quickly test it. Sign in, Facebook, okay, and we have protected page. We do see navigation item. Sign out, sign in. Okay, so this example works, and we are ready to continue.